So quiz tomorrow. It does have 5.1, the simplifying stuff on it again. Hunter and I worked yesterday on that circuit training worksheet. That's really good practice for what you're going to see on there. But there's also a question that you have to get a common denominator. So let me see. I put a bunch of stuff here. Like this is off 9A. There's an example. This one you'd factor the top. I don't think there's anything like that on the quiz, honestly, but factor the top and then go from there maybe. Do a trade for tangents, something like that. This one is not well written. I really would like to spend a second on this. Not that there's one on the quiz, but the top, this is off 9B, if anybody has their worksheets out. But at the top here, that's supposed to say, guys, cosine x plus sine x all squared, and then a minus 1 over a sine 2x. What would you have to do first to that? Yeah, FOIL that out. How is a cosine plus sine gonna FOIL out? Cosine times cosine, cosine squared, cosine sine, and another cosine sine would be 2 cosine sine. Does it matter if I write that sine cosine? It's all just multiplied, right? So any order. And then a plus sine times sine would be a sine squared. Okay, I forgot some x's, forgive me. There's also a minus 1 on top. And on the bottom, we have a sine of 2x. Ideas? 1. What's 1? This one added to this one is 1. Everybody good with that? Now, if this is not a proof, I'm just going to show my scribbles here rather than repeating it all, okay? Then what would happen? There's a minus 1 back here, right, guys? The 1 minus 1 cancel out. So what's left on the top is 2 cosine sine. Forgot my x's again. What's happening now? What's the double angle for sine 2x? 2 sine cosine, yes? It's the only one I suggested you memorize, but I get it if you haven't. It's not a worry. Okay? What happens now? Cancel, 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 right? It's all multiplied, so it all reduces to nothing. 1. All right, so that hot mess reduced down to 1. I just wanted to do one of those because a couple things. You got to FOIL it out if it said that. I don't think it's on the quiz. Second thing is sometimes students will replace this right here with 2 sine cosine, and then they'll start doing what? Can you really do that at that point in the problem? No, because there's plus and minus going on, okay? So you'd really have to do it later, but it's not a proof. I'm just moving on. Yes? Yes, if instead you had traded this out up here and traded it for a sine 2x and left this one sine 2x so that you got 1 at the end, absolutely. Did everybody follow his question? Took me a minute. Anyway, you could trade either way. All right, what is on the quiz though? Yeah, it's not looking like any of those really. All right, let me make one up. Actually, I'm going to make something kind of ugly up, okay? I'm going to go 2 over 1 minus cosine plus 2 over 1 plus cosine, okay? What if it looked like that? And it said simplify. Okay, you got to multiply this guy by what? 1 plus, oh, yeah, I don't know what that says. Okay, we're going to pretend that says 1 plus cosine because I'm in a hurry. And over here, multiply this by 1 minus cosine. Okay, It is a simplified question, so if you do some of this in your head, it's okay. But again, if you get the wrong answer and I can't tell what you did, it's concept error. Okay, what happens up here? 2 plus 2 cosine x plus over here 2 minus 2 cosine of x all over both of those, a 1 plus and a 1 minus. Can you FOIL those together to save some time? Because we're going to need to, right? 1 plus a cosine of x minus a cosine of x minus cosine squared. What happens up top? I end up with 4. What's 1 minus cosine squared? Sine squared. Okay, on the quiz, I don't know what, this has nothing to do with this question in case when I'm watching is confused. On the quiz, it says simplify to a single trig function. I would accept this. What's one step further? Anybody? No, don't square root. That's not a good plan. Can't randomly square root ever, unless you're doing it to both sides of an equation. What's 1 over sine squared? Cosecant squared. So this and this are equivalent, and because it just says simplify, I would take either answer, okay? It's down to one function, right? That was the point. Any questions? Okay. Any more of these you wanted to see, or are we okay on this idea? I can come back and do some more later if you need me to, but that's 5.1. And the ones I put on, there's one like that with a common denominator problem, and the other one is basically everything's multiplied together. If you trade it out for sines and cosines, you'll be good, okay? Equation solving, basic equation solving is on there, which is a repeat of last time, and then there's some harder equation solving this time with U substitution needed. Any ideas here? You want to do some of these? This is off 5B. We did a bunch of them before, but we could do a couple more. All right. No one's speaking up, so I'm going to say a couple quick things. These calculator questions, just type them in and find intersection points in this window. I think the one on the quiz says 0 to 2 pi, but it could say this in theory. I don't think it does. Okay. I did have some people who gave me ordered pairs. Are the answers ordered pairs? No, the answer to this is where the sine of x equals 3/4. So you graph it from 0 to 2 pi, and you find the two places where the sine hits 3/4, right? But you only give me what? The x. That's the only thing this question had was an x. Yes. No, it would be the same, yes. If you typed 4x minus 3 into y1, and then you found the zeros between 0 and 2 pi, absolutely the same answer, okay? This is going to stretch it and shift it, but the zeros will be equivalent to this, yep. I know that's kind of a hard concept for us to wrap our brains around, but it is the same, I promise. My point is, don't write an ordered pair. I didn't call it a concept error, but it was a 4. All right, down here, what are we doing on these kind? For example, 28, we'd be doing what? Take out a tangent. 1 minus 2 cosine of x equals 0. So we'd have where the tangent is 0, or the cosine is, if we subtracted the 1 divided by -2, we'd have a positive 1/2. Did I do that right? Okay. Unit circle. If it said 0 to 2 pi, we would answer tangent is 0 anywhere that y is 0. So 0 and pi. Do I have that right? And cosine is 1/2 at pi over 3 and 5 pi over 3. Okay. What if it said all solutions? Okay, these should give plus or minus 2 pi n's, right? These are already straight across from each other. You could put plus or minus 2 pi n. I wouldn't count it wrong, I don't think. But this is really, tangent has a period of pi, right? So you could just say 0 plus or minus pi n, or you could list both of them, etc. There is a multiple choice question that says which one of these is a way to write all solutions. And you're really going to have to think about it because it's kind of a test preppy question. We haven't done a ton of talking about the easiest, simplest, shortest way to write these, right? So, what about this question? This says it's on the back of the review. Oh, these are on the back of the review? Oh, okay. I'm going to skip the first two. What about this lovely number 3? Ideas? Somebody get us started. If we add this cosine squared to this cosine squared over here, right? We have 4 cosine squareds. Can I go ahead and move everything over there so it's equal to 0? Plus 4 cosine of x plus 1, or theta, sorry, equals 0. How's that going to factor now? Because that's where we need to be going with quite a few of these. 2 cosine theta plus 1 times 2 cosine theta plus 1, isn't it? So we get 4 cosine squared plus 2 cosine plus 2 cosine plus 1, which would equal this. So we have cosine theta equals negative 1/2, or negative 1/2. And that is true. 2 pi over 3 and 4 pi over 3. Okay, so if it said this, we'd be done. If it said all solutions, we'd need some plus or minus 2 pi n's. I'm going to go back to this idea of there's a multiple choice question. Is that okay for that answer? No, because pi over 3 doesn't have a cosine of negative 1/2, right? Is that the same thing? Does that cover both of those? Look at your unit circle. Positive 2 pi over 3, negative 2 pi over 3. That is 4 pi over 3, right? Is negative 2 pi over 3. So this would cover both of those and all solutions thereafter. Just something to watch for. Okay. Do you need me to do like this number 4, 2 sine squared theta minus square root of 2 sine theta? Then you'd take out a sine, right? You'd have sine theta times 2 minus square root, 2 sine theta minus square root of 2. I'm trying to cram that in there. So you'd have either the sine is 0 or the sine is square root of 2 over 2. Everybody good? I think the same thing here. If you subtracted a cosine over here, then you could factor a cosine out of those. You'd get something. Can I move on with those kind or not? Everybody speak up. Advanced equation solving. There are some examples on worksheet 5B or 9A. I think these are a good choice right here. I'm going to talk about these at the top of 9A. Actually, do I need to talk about the first one? What would you do there? I don't think that one's necessarily an example of advanced equation solving. You just take out a cosine. This one is that. What are we going to have to do there? This is just sine squared, guys. It's just a lazy man. I wrote this worksheet before I had a good equation editor. Sine squared minus 2 sine minus 3 equals 0. That's just a factoring question. This is not. This could be on the quiz. It has a cosine squared and a sine. We're going to have to do something different, right? Ideas? What? Okay. Cosine squared is a 1 minus sine squared. So can we replace this side? Doesn't have a squared, right? We're going to have to replace this. The whole idea, written weirdly for us, is cosine squared can be replaced with a what? 1 minus sine squared. Okay, now do some manipulation and see what you get. Distribute. I'm going to move everything to the right side, I think. Did anybody end up with that? A 2 sine squared, a negative sine, and a negative 1? Or all the opposite signs if you went the other way, but I like my squared term to be positive. So then it factors 2 sine x and a 1, sine x and a 1. Let's see, we need a negative positive, I think. We good? Did this say all solutions or 0 to 2 pi? All? Okay. So help me out. Sine is negative 1/2. What is it? Is there a shorter way to write that? Is there symmetry going on? I feel like 5 pi over 6 is not right. Okay. Because that would have a positive sign, right? 11 pi over 7 and 7 pi over 6. Can I write like plus or minus something? Not so much. I can put the plus or minus 2 pi in on the end. I have to do that. All right, and where's the sine 1? Okay. Number 4. Great question. Might be on there. What is this? 2 sine x cosine of x minus cosine of x equals 0. Then what? Cosine of x times 2 sine of x minus 1 equals 0. Can I stop there and assume you could finish it? Okay. What is this equal to? There's a couple ways you could do this. You could do some trading, okay? But the easiest trade in my mind, cosine squared minus sine squared is, did you find it or not? Now it just became a U substitution question. When is the cosine square root of 3 over 2? And? Yes, you're right. Okay, but what's in that red box is not x, it's what? 2x. So what do we have to do? We have to take half or divide by 2. So if I do half here, here, and here, what's my answer? X is pi over 12 plus or minus pi n. And over here would be 11 pi over 12 plus or minus pi. Let's talk about 6, because this kind of reflects the one I talked about a second ago. I think there might be something like this is your the multiple choice question. What would you do when you got to here? Take the square root, which means you have to remember what? Plus or minus, and to rationalize it, which is going to become square root of 2 over 2. Okay, that happens a whole bunch of places on my unit circle. As long as it's plus or minus, especially. Anybody want to throw out there would think a way that somebody could write that? Because it's going to be pick one that's correct. Whoa, sorry. Pi over 4 plus or minus pi over 2. Would that work? Wow, I don't think that one's the choice that I put on there. But you're absolutely right. That if you started at 45 and you went 90 around, you'd hit them all, right? What else? I think, would that work? I can go either positive or negative. That hits, and then straight across, right? Okay. Would this hit them all? Go to positive pi over 4 or negative pi over 4, but then when you got there, you have to go 2 pi before you hit them again. No, I don't think that's hitting the ones in quadrant 2 and 3, right? All right, enough time on this. Multiple choice question, you'll be fine. This is a multiple choice question. I'm not sure that I want to have a lot of fun with this, but what could you trade secant squared for? It is a 1 minus tangent squared? 1 plus tangent squared? Okay. So if I subtract a 1 off each side here, what could I do with this? Can I take out a tangent? So I have where the tangent is 0 or the tangent is negative 1. Where's the tangent 0? Zero and pi, and where's the tangent negative 1? Square root of 2 over 2 and negative square root of 2 over 2, or negative square root of 2 over 2 and positive square 3 pi over 4, and so the choice is, it's not a multiple choice on the quiz. I just found this on a worksheet that you already had. All right, enough on that. All right, let's do one of these. We're running out of time here. But these are the things we learned this week, right? This one is. Because I want to trade this for what? This is on the back of your worksheet, I think. Is it? It's 11 and 12, right? I thought that said 2, and then I was confused. Okay. What could I trade cosine 2 theta for? There's 3 trades. Which one seems like a good idea? There's a negative. 1 minus 2 sine squared. Why was that your best idea? There's already a sine squared in the question. Okay, I don't think there's one this ugly looking on the quiz, but the concept is there. If I distribute a negative, I have negative 1 plus 2 sine squared minus 6 sine squared plus 3. Okay, I'm going to skip some steps. 3 and negative 1 would be 2. If I move it to the other side, it's a negative 2. What do these combine to be? Negative 4 sine squared. I feel like we just did this problem. If we divide by negative 4, we get 2/4 or 1/2. And then if we square root, we're right where we were a minute ago, right? Okay. I don't want to do this problem. And well, here, if we add this over to the other side, right? Don't we get 1 sine 2 theta? Because there was negative 3 of them. Add them over, be positive 3 added to negative 2. Okay, that looks a little better. Now what might you do? That's a 2 theta, not a squared. What do you want to trade it for this time? Oh, it is yeah, we don't have a choice, right? There's only one trade. Thanks. Fix me, I'm broken. 2 sine theta, cosine theta. Now what? Can I move somehow it all together one way or the other, right? Because then I can take out a cosine. Cosine equals 0 or sine equals square root of 3/2. Can I stop there? All right. So just keep those in mind, okay? Keep those in mind because I don't think they look as ugly as those did, but there's one where you have to do a trade. Oh, goodness. All right, one more. Cosine squared. Any ideas? What do you want to do here? Oh, you want to subtract. That's what I was thinking, because this is a trade, right? It's cosine of 2x. But is that going to help us? We already have a sine x. What could we trade that for? 1 minus sine squared, and then we'd only have sines in the problem, right? That's a Pythagorean identity, not a double angle. So then if you add it over here, you'll have 2 sine squared. You subtract that 1 plus 7 sine x plus 3. I think there is one like this and the only reason it's different than some we've done. Oh, no, that's not good. When you factored, anybody know what's going to happen? Yeah, Blorta's ahead of the game already. I heard her whispering that you get a sine is -3, which has no solutions, right? I think there might be one on the quiz where you only have to deal with one of them because the other one is a throwaway. All right, we've killed the equation solving, I hope. Okay, there is part of the quiz that is just trig trades. We talked about this yesterday. We did these questions yesterday, right? It's just look at the sheet, trade it out. Along with that same section, it says prove this identity. We haven't done these for a couple days. If you did your homework, you did a couple. This is off 10A. Actually, you know what? Let's do, oh, here's some good ones. Review this real fast for me. Sine, cosine minus cosine sine. Even if you don't have it out, just look up here. Sine, cosine, minus cosine, sine. I don't have my sheet. I don't have these memorized. Sine, cosine, minus cosine, sine is A minus B, which is 42 minus 17, which Hofbauer wants you to write as 25, maybe? Is that right? 25, 35, 42? I think so. Okay. What about this number 2 over here? Sine, cosine, plus sine, cosine. What? Oh, look. This is A. This is B. This is B. This is A. So is there one on your sheet that really says that? Sine, cosine? It just says cosine, sine, right? So what is it? A plus B again? Or this time it's plus? Okay, so we're going to write pi over 5 plus pi over 2. I need you to simplify. 2/10 and 5/10 is 7/10. How did I do? Somebody typing? Thanks. All right. Oh, this is evil. I didn't put this on the quiz. Anybody know what this would be? If it said this, 2 sine 3x, cosine 3x, it would be what? Is there one that says 2 sine cosine? Sine 2 theta? But our theta is what? 3x. So this would be the sine of 2 3x's or the sine of 6x. This one would have expected you to put an 8 out front. I didn't put one like that on the quiz. If it's on the quiz, it has a 2 there, okay? So you know to look. Cosine, cosine minus sine, sine. Cosine, cosine minus sine, sine is cosine A plus B, which in this case would be 10y. Are we good? Okay. This is on the back of the review. Let's do at least one of these quick. What do we do here? Yeah, in the directions, the directions say, it looks like this. It says like expand, simplify, and prove that this is equal to this or something, okay? There's some directions leading you. So if you don't use the word distribute, but expand using the idea from your sheet, what does this expand to? Cosine pi over 2 times cosine theta minus sine pi over 2 sine theta. Then you go to your unit circle, right? Cosine of pi over 2 is 0. And sine of pi over 2 is 1. So does that, then you can just show me that this crosses out? Yes. It is not distributing. It's never distributing. It's like this is, you're following the rule cosine A plus B. Okay, yep. Should we do one more or you got this? One more? Okay, so sine A plus B would be expanded as, somebody? Sine A cosine B plus cosine A sine B. Okay. This would trade out for a 0. And cosine of pi is -1 again. So does that simplify down to what it was supposed to? Okay. So I wrote it in a way that leads you through those steps. I don't remember exactly what it looks like on the quiz. And they're not all negative sine theta, by the way. Both of those two just happen to be. All right. Can I skip this section? 8, 9, 10, the examples I have up there, those are just more. You can do them. Check the answer key. Oh yes, we need to do this question. Is this my last? Oh, I have one more off 10A. Okay, we're good. But those guys are going to be here to talk to us. You have a picture like this on the quiz. It's going to be all about doing Pythagorean theorem. I think this is 29. Somebody check me. I think this is 24. Anybody checking me? I just did Pythagorean theorem. I think those are triples. Somebody's checking, I hope. While they're doing that, what are the sine and cosine from alpha, this triangle? 21 over 29 and, okay. And then from the beta triangle, sine and cosine are, okay. The quiz actually says, write out what identity you're going to use. So what is cosine? This, it's equal to, and you can use A's and B's, I don't care. Right? That's the identity we're going to use. And then we're going to plug in values. What is the cosine of A? Negative 20 over 29. Be real careful. Cosine from B or beta is 24 over 25. Sine from A, 21 over 29. Sine from B, 7 over 25. Then how do you do that mess to get an exact value? Multiply the tops. Negative 480 over something. I don't know. 30 times 25 would be 750, 675, 725. Yeah, I can't subtract. This is what, 147 over 725. Does someone? So if I add a negative 480 plus 147, I keep the denominator. It isn't that ugly on the quiz, but I just made one for the review that had bigger numbers. You got that? Okay. Last one. There's some more on 10A and B. If you want to practice this, let's do this one. No, that one's going to be ugly. I don't want to do that one. It's a double angle one that you have to do. So let's do this off the back of the worksheet you should all have in front of you. I don't know. Let's do 15. Which quadrant am I going to draw my triangle in? 3 pi over 2 and 2 pi means 4, right? What do we know about that triangle? Yes, the y is going to be negative. But we know the cosine is 5/13 here, right? Anybody know what this is then? Negative 12. Yep, good job. Okay, it wants the cosine of 2 theta. Take your choice. Which one would you like to use? There's 3 trades for cosine of 2 theta. Cosine squared minus sine squared. I like to use that one too. So what's the cosine? 5 over 13. We're supposed to square that and then subtract. What's the sine? Negative 12 over 13. When we square it, it becomes what though? Positive 144 over 169. And then we're supposed to subtract, so we get, is it negative 119? That's me pretending to subtract in my head. Is it right? Okay. Are we good, guys? Do you want me to do 14 while we're waiting for them to come? Does anybody have homework questions? Yes? Do you know what it's on? The bookwork? The second one, the 352? That's 5.5, I think, right? Here it is. Number 13. Okay, guys. So this is the question that's on the homework. Solve this equation. What can we trade sine 2 theta for? 2 sine times cosine, right? What can we trade cosecant for? Okay, these cancel. So what is left? 2 cosine equals 1, or cosine equals 1/2, which will have 2 spots on the unit circle. Okay, that's not on the quiz exactly like that, but is there another one? Anybody else? Homework question? Melanie? No? Florta? Homework questions? No? Need to see one more U substitution question? I can make one up. What if it said 4 sine 3 theta equals 2? How do you solve that for all solutions? Divide by 4. Then what? Yep, 3 theta equals, where does that happen? Positive 1/2 for a sine value. And 5 pi over 6, okay? And if it said all solutions, you need 2 pi n, but we still have to do what? Got to take 1/3 of everything or divide by 3. What would that become? Pi over 18 plus or minus 2 pi n over 3, or 2/3. Does that make sense? Isn't that the period? How often that thing is repeating? 2/3. Okay. And if we take 1/3 of this one, we get 5 pi over 18 plus or minus 2 pi n over 3. Okay. Anything else anybody's freaking out about? Need to see another simplify? I can go back to the top of my examples. What's the motivation to do well on this quiz? I hope we never have to see this stuff again until finals, right? Yeah, you can get your, that's a good motivation. You can sit by who you want again. Yes. Notice Kendra still takes her phone out, even when she's sitting right there. She thinks she's being all tricky. All right, good. Well, I'm glad you're paying more attention.